The AI research conducted here at the CSIR is overseen by Dr. Wagaba. So we are in very capable hands. A round of applause, please, as he moderates the next discussion.
Thank you, Program Director. Good afternoon to all, and welcome to what promises to be a timely and salient discussion. As mentioned before, our focus will be on the transformative potential of artificial intelligence to advance sustainable development across South Africa and the continent. We stand at a critical juncture where the most powerful technological force of our era, which is artificial intelligence, meets our most urgent human challenge, global sustainability. This presents a conundrum. On one hand, AI is the ultimate engine of efficiency, with the potential to mitigate climate risk by radically optimizing high-emitting sectors. Yet, on the other hand, this powerful tool carries significant cost. The immense computing power required to train and operate large models consumes vast energy and water resources, which inherently challenges the very sustainability it aims to achieve. In addition to that, the opacity of black box models, or black box systems, and also the risk of embedding societal biases threatens to erode stakeholder trust and accountability. The challenge that we have before us is clear, that we must address this conundrum. It is our duty to solve it. The effective integration of AI is vital for our nation's competitiveness, economic growth, security, and societal well-being. Projections indicate that AI could contribute just under $20 trillion to the global economy by 2030. It is important to ensure that we are well represented in that global figure. African nations are demonstrating growing capacity in the AI domain. Mauritius, South Africa, and Rwanda lead the continent on the 2024 Government AI Readiness Index. And the recent launch of the 2025 AI Maturity Assessment Framework further highlights the growing national capacity to integrate AI across various sectors. This session will provide a strategic overview of the country's AI readiness and maturity. It will also explore opportunities for environmental, social, and economic impact, highlighting frameworks to enable responsible, ethical, and practical implementation. Experiences from other parts of the world will also inform our discourse. Let us turn our attention to our distinguished panelists who will join us for this crucial discussion. And at this time, I'd like to call the esteemed panel members to join me on the stage, and we will continue from there. Thank you once again to the panel members for joining us today. To begin with, and this is a question I'll address to the entire panel, please introduce yourselves with your name, your organization, your role. Also share what drew you to the topic that we're discussing today, and perhaps one key takeaway that you would like the audience to gain from this discussion. And perhaps I will begin at the end.
Okay, thank you very much for this introduction. So I'm Leen Govaerts, I'm director at VITO. VITO is a sister institute of CSIR based in Belgium, so working on the big on technology development for sustainability challenges. AI is coming in a lot of applications that we do, of course, working on sustainability challenges from climate change, resource efficiency, ecosystem degradation, and so on. This is a lot of AI coming in, but what we do see now, and it's ramping up very, very fast, that it also comes to the core of our research itself, new research techniques and so on. And this is why it's really embedded in our organization to make maximal use of the power of AI. And if one key takeaway, I hope for the public at the end of the session is the end goal is sustainability, not AI, but let's use it well to go to sustainability.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. I'd like to greet distinguished participant. My name is Dr. Bienvenu Abokonto-Soglo. I'm the Vice President for Technology Policy and Innovation at Blacklin Associate. In my role, my primary focus is to drive impact at the intersection of technology, policy, and inclusive growth, particularly leveraging AI-driven solutions to address key challenges in emerging markets. My engagement with regard to AI on the African continent dated, back several years. In 2020, when I was working at Intel, I actually worked with Smart Africa in the working group in the development of the Pan-African AI Blueprint, in addition to some initiative in building the capacity of African government officials on AI. In addition to that, we also conducted several studies which are important to evaluate the African deep tech startup ecosystem, spin-off ecosystem, in addition to a study we did with TUT to look at AI landscape in African universities. So you can see the interest, right, why I'm interested in this topic. One key takeaway, from this discussion, what I want to say is that it's important for Africa to not only use AI, but to create it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Soglo.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rivana Balmahoon, and I'm the Research Group Leader for Artificial Intelligence and Extended Reality at CSIR. Our main function is to use AI and extended reality in the specific research group as building blocks in order to create new technologies. And we particularly do that so that we can build local solutions for local challenges. One of the main aims around this is for us to reduce our dependency on global providers when it comes to technology, and we're looking at developing new tech in a specific way. I hope that from this discussion, you're able to take away a little bit more of an understanding around what we do in the AI space at CSIR, while also understanding perhaps some of the ethical challenges, some of the operational challenges that we have, and some practical ways in which we'll be able to go about solving these.
Thank you.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Deshni Govender. I am the country focal point, or the country lead, for a project called Fair Forward Artificial Intelligence for All, and that is one of the flagship projects of the GIZ, the German Development Corporation. What drew me to AI? Honestly, my career has been largely in financial services, although that's not my professional background. And when I used to work at the regulator, the National Credit Regulator, we'd often receive feedback when, as a regulator, you'd send compliance notices and things that you do. Receive feedback from banks about, oh, this is proprietary and that's proprietary, and this is our systems, and so when I transitioned from the regulator to the bank, and then you actually start creating products and services and systems, and particularly credit risk modeling and automated decisions, and to be honest, I did not like what I saw. I really didn't. And that kind of drew me into the field of AI. What's going to keep me in the field of AI is that I really, really, really hate standing in queues. And anything that can automate and make things faster, that I would do. Bringing that very much back down to the work and what we do and why that's important is because it's all well and good to say automated systems and decision systems, but really what is important and what's key is about sustainability of AI. And for us, we actually work to democratize AI, and democratization is thrown around a lot, but for me, democratization means actually inclusion in the space, building the AI, not receiving the AI. Open source, licensing, how does that work for the community? So for me, it's really just about the democratization.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Paulo Gatelha. I'm a former president of Fiocruz, a health institution in Brazil. Wide scope of activities that includes also a lot of press-related information and communication. And AI has been one of the main questions we are working with. And we've been also, for a long time, co-hosts of G-STIC. So what I'm expecting expecting that we come to some common grounds to think of AI not only as a technical question, but as a societal issue, and also sustainable in terms of the environment. And so the rhythms of the technological change could be met with the rhythm of how society deals with the incorporation, regulation, and good use of AI.
Thank you very much for that. I think these introductions have begun with some insights already. Beginning with you, Ms. Govender, please tell us about the Fair Forward project and the role that it plays in promoting the open and sustainable use of artificial intelligence in South Africa and across the continent.
So the project itself is a global project, and it operates over 5 countries in Africa and 2 countries in Asia. And a very cool part of that is that you actually get to have a little bit of oversight about what goes on in other countries. As countries do, we often compare ourselves to each other. What is very cool, and one of the areas that we focus on, and coming back to the idea of democratization, is what you've maybe heard of as language data, or NLP. And some key components of that we've done is to actually develop data sets in local languages so that localized solutions can be developed. And it's a massive and significant difference when you try to do something in English and machine translate it rather than actually develop the local language with the context and the nuance. And nobody knows context and nuance more than us in South Africa. So an example of that would be, for example, the Kenya-Rwanda, the chatbot that we built in Rwanda, in the local language of Kenya, Rwanda, which disseminated COVID-19 health information and now used by the Rwanda Biomedical Center, got that right, to actually disseminate health data to the public. And it's also both a high-tech and a low-tech solution, because we tend to always think of AI as high-tech, but it can also be through a USSD string and a low-tech solution. Another one is, of course, the e-government services in Kenya, where you can actually go online in Swahili and English and go and discover what government services are available and what you need to do to access those government services. The other area that's really important to us is capacity development. We've heard this many, many, many times, but capacity development is also not an all-encompassing thing, just train the people. And so what it is very nuanced things. So for example, like the AI and Data Science Bootcamp for Women that we did, where the premise was, irrespective of your background, anybody can do AI. You don't need to leave your role, your job, and get a computer science degree to participate. And the interesting thing was, we did it over 4 countries. So we piloted in South Africa. We scaled it up to Rwanda, to Ghana, and to Uganda. And the end goal of the program, of course, was the same in terms of capacity development for women in already either university or in a career. And yet, because of the socioeconomic circumstances of the countries, we had to employ 4 different methodologies to achieve the same thing. And it is available in an impact report, but it also goes to show that, again, capacity development in Africa is not a one-size-fits-all. We did it here and we'll copy-paste it there. The last thing I would say would be policy actions, because that's very important. We know, of course, as a country, yes, we're competitive. It's how we are. But we also know that we don't, as of right now, have a national AI policy. There's no national AI strategy. And in the constitutional context of SA, we need a policy first before we need a strategy or anything else. And so policy actions are really important. You can't force the government to do something if they're not ready. So you would then provide grounding or supportive mechanisms. One of the things we did, of course, was work with the government of Rwanda to do this. So they were one of the earlier ones on the continent, together with Ghana. Kenya did a practitioner's guide, which is very cool because the government took a step back and were like, actually, we want to see what the community does first. Following the practitioner's guide, then they did a national AI strategy. And of course, through the maturity assessment framework, or as I might unintentionally and colloquially refer to it as the MAF, so the AI Maturity Assessment Framework, we've done a significant amount of work to see how AI ready we are as a country, and that report's also available.
Thank you very much. I think at this time, let's turn our attention to Dr. Balmehun. How is AI research and development at the CSIR advancing a national ambition for South Africa?
Thank you for the question. I think it's important to note, firstly, that at CSIR, deep-rooted within our DNA is scientific methodology and rigor. And this is what's contributed to, or one of the reasons that's contributed to us creating impact on a national level. Within the past 5 years, we have created more than 44 localized technologies. We've assisted more than 400 SMMEs, and we've made about 80, in fact, I think just over 80 national policy contributions, which is quite significant. And I'll touch on that last part around policy contributions. One of the initiatives that we ran a little while ago was with NACI, the National Advisory Council of Innovation. And we specifically looked at developing recommendations to inform a national AI strategy. So the step before the AI strategy being formulated. We brought together stakeholders from various sectors, academia, government, private sector, etc., with their various levels of expertise, and put together these amazing working groups. It was quite a skilled group of people that we had working on this. And we formulated these 6 working groups and developed various recommendations using their expertise and their knowledge. We had recommendations come forth from areas like data and infrastructure, innovation and research, future skills, strategic sectors, just to name a few. And these recommendations were put together on a national level as well as regional levels as well, just to inform what it would take for us to recommend in terms of a national AI strategy. So I think that's one of the good examples in terms of us being able to provide national impact. Apart from policy contributions and contributions on this front, we're also developing new technologies, as I mentioned at the start. And some of what we've done here is across domains. So we've looked at various sectors. For example, in the energy sector, we've produced detection tools that's able to detect cracks on solar panels that can help with quality assurance processes. So we use AI to develop these technologies that can solve these local challenges. We've also built an indicator system that can be used in the food sector around classifying various food hazards, and we partnered with our agriculture research group, agriculture cluster, in order to do so. So the idea is that through this collaboration, through this deep-seated DNA that we have when it comes to scientific methodology, we're able to contribute and advance this national ambition that we have.
Thank you for that. I think let's infuse a little bit more of a continental perspective to that as well. And we'll turn our attention to Dr. Soglo. What are the key challenges faced in leveraging AI for sustainable development in Africa? And what practical interventions can be implemented to overcome these challenges?
Thank you very much for the question. As you said earlier, AI has the capability, right, to transform or to kind of provide solution to some of the challenges of the African continent, whether it is precision agriculture, innovation in healthcare, smart infrastructure, etc. But also there have been numbers that have been, provided to estimate the potential socioeconomic impact of AI on the African continent by 2030. The GSMA is talking about 2.9 trillion, right, US dollars. But yet, there are key challenges. So starting with, digital infrastructure gap, right? Lack of data storage, right? Lack of computing infrastructure, but also connectivity, right? So when we talk, in fact, about connectivity, I look at South Africa quite good, right, compared to other countries on the African continent. On average, what a recent ITUD report is saying that the percentage of people using the internet, on average, on the continent is around 38%. Right? That's quite low compared to the average of around 68%. Right? And so that is number one. Number two, there is the perception of AI by the general public, by the organization, by the stakeholders. Number three, there's the lack of skills, right? Engineers, etc., that can develop the AI models. Number four, financing, right? Lack of financing for startups, lack of sustainable business model for those startups. There are also regulatory gaps: data protection, privacy, trust, transparency, etc. And so to address those challenges, I think there was already part of the answer here, which is talking about the need to develop national AI strategies. And I think a number of African countries are already doing that, right? And those strategies need to be anchored into a national development agenda, right? That is an aspect that is very important with clear goals, etc. The second area to address the gap in digital infrastructure, right? It is important to kind of look at, okay, what is really on the ground right now in terms of digital infrastructure, see where the gaps are, and then how to fill those gaps. And that needs to be done not only from the national perspective, but also from the sub-regional and continental perspective. Why? Because in my view, few countries could potentially have all the computing infrastructure that are required. And so there will be a lot of African countries which will not be able to have every single aspect of AI, and therefore sub-regional mutualization or continental mutualization of resources are very important. And so that will allow to see what are actually the required computing infrastructure. There are some investment already in the GPUs, etc. The other aspect is in terms of having reliable, high-quality, affordable connectivity, whether it's via 5G, whether it's via fiber, etc. Plus now, coming to research and innovation. We have to look at which AI models need to be developed given the digital infrastructure gap that we have. So perhaps it is important to focus on small language models or looking at AI models that can either work offline or work at the edge. So I think that is an important aspect. Second aspect, it is to have a skill development program, right? So that to build the capacity, whether it's for the general public, for the policymakers, so they understand what the technology is about and then how to formulate their policies. Third aspect, I think also is important to create some AI research hubs or innovation hubs, sub-regional, right? Sub-regional because when you look at the need for talent, not many countries, I'm just putting it that way, will be able to train or have all the talent that AI requires. And therefore, it is important for collaboration, right, among countries across the continent to see how they can leverage the various talent, right, to actually, make AI, very useful to create locally relevant use cases. The other aspect I'll touch upon just to quickly close is the importance of the development of national, sub-regional data governance frameworks within the context, a continental context, right? And the reason for that is that if we talk about mutualizing the computing infrastructure, that means that I'll have data from, I'm giving an example, from South Africa, or a country that has the data in South Africa that need to move back to the country. And therefore, there's a need to have free flow of data across the border, right? And the other aspect is also to look at how you can have, the format of the data, right? How standardized that format is going to be. So I think those are some of the elements I'd like to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the idea of local relevance, it comes out very strongly, the importance of that when looking at the different perspectives we've heard thus far. And now turning to Dr. Gadela, what are the Brazilian guidelines for dealing with AI?
Yeah, I will excuse myself because for the time control's sake, I decided to write my comment, okay? So when Brazil discusses AI, diversity has a seat at the table. This statement from Cristina Vec and Thiago Gouveia perfectly captures the spirit that guides Brazil's approach to digital transformation and sustainability. In our country, the debate on artificial intelligence is not limited to the technological sphere. It is fundamentally about democracy, inclusion, and the collective construction of futures that combine innovation with social justice and environmental responsibility. Artificial intelligence, as you mentioned in your presentation, has the potential of reshape health systems, improve management, of natural resource and accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. But it also raises new challenges since it consumes energy and water, demands minerals from fragile ecosystems, and can reproduce structural inequalities if not designed with ethical and inclusive principles. Therefore, AI must be aligned with a broader civilizational project, one that integrates technology into a sustainable, low-carbon, and equitable development model. This is the direction taken by the Brazilian National Artificial Intelligence Strategy and by the new Brazilian AI plan, which we call PBIA. And this was constructed in a participatory meeting that brought together researchers, people from business, social, society, and so forth. It was coordinated by the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Innovation. These initiatives are built on 5 principles aligned with the OCDE framework: inclusive growth, human-centered values, transparency, robustness, and security, and accountability. The PBIA explicitly promotes AI for the good of all. Invest in renewable energy data centers, and this is an advantage for Brazil. We have a very strong matrix that is sustainable in terms of energy, and we've developed many data centers based on eolic energy and also on green hydrogen. This is one of the priorities that we have. And we have this in renewed energy data centers in education and training for underrepresented groups, and the creation of a National Center for Algorithmic Transparency. This is very important, because a lot of social injustice comes from algorithmic injustice. We know many examples that comes from the application of this in social bias in terms of judicial process and so forth. To ensure that AI systems are audible and socially trustworthy. In Brazil, AI is seen not as a technological agenda alone, but as a new social contract, one that ties innovation to ethics, justice, and sustainability. To make this vision viable, regulation and governance are central. And this is a key question that has a lot of, I would say, opposition from many areas, even in the case of Brazil. When we are moving towards regulation, people will say this will hinder the development of the technology and the possibility of freedom in terms. And we think it's very important to have a regulatory society based. And so there was the creation of the National, the National Center. So that we had the Bill on Artificial Intelligence. It establishes ethical and accountability principles for AI systems, particularly in sensitive areas such as health, while existing frameworks like the General Data Protection Law and the National Data Protection Authority and the National Health Surveillance Agency, in this case for the health area, provide complementary oversight. Together, these mechanisms create an institutional environment that protects rights, promotes innovation, and ensures that technological progress does not come at the expense of human dignity.
Thank you very much for that. And now turning our attention to Ms. Hovards, from a clean energy and water resilience perspective, what is the role of AI innovation in addressing sustainability challenges?
Yes, thank you for the question. So I'm leading the research department of energy and water, and there we see that already since years a lot of AI applications come in. Sustainable energy and water systems, actually it's about ensuring and securing clean energy or clean water and affordable supply, matching in as much as possible in real time, especially for energy demand and supply, and also making that the whole system is efficient in the sense that you need to transport energy and water, you need to buffer it, you need to make sure to match supply and demand, you need to keep the system under control. And to make the transformation to a more sustainable energy system, a more resilient water system, there is a need for enormous investments in our infrastructure, in our energy infrastructure, our water infrastructure, and clean water technologies, for example, but also on this system control to make sure that it works in the most efficient way and that it works in the most smart way. And so that's how already for years we are working on very intelligent management and control algorithms, for example, to make sure that the system works well and that we can do these investments at the lowest capex possible, but also at the lowest opex. And so to ensure that globally we can make these investments and bring AI into the picture. And maybe a few examples. So we have a growing team of data scientists in our institute who also work as the example of CSIR on different building blocks on the AI technology itself, but then combine it with the expertise of engineers, environmental engineers, chemists, hydrologists, and so on. And a few examples, for example, about a year ago, we created a new startup company on intelligent algorithms for electric vehicle charging for big fleets. And it's the AI component that makes it better than other applications on the market. So they really take into account the whole contextual situation on weather forecast, demand forecast, supply forecast, and so on, to ensure that big vehicle fleets, and for example, they are now active in Brussels Airport Company, which has already garages with more than a few hundreds of charging points to make sure where cars are parked for several days, to make sure that they are recharged at the most optimal and the most lowest cost. And so this is a type of applications that we are working around. And you see much more also in the field of water, for example. We work on real-time sensoring of water surfaces on canals, and we are informing also based on the AI, which makes forecast on the future demand, which makes forecast on the water quality as well. For example, in our canals, we have a problem of salinization because of also changing climates and droughts, and it informs companies on the exact moment that they can take in water and run their processes at the best moment, or make trade-offs. For example, do we need water for industry, or can the drinking water company take water for drink water production? And so it's also this sensoring platform and AI intelligence added to that makes it more efficient to run the whole system and makes it more sustainable. So more and more we see these types of applications coming into our research and leading to better applications and assets, lowering the cost of investment and lowering the cost of the system. So, and that's will be crucial to make a transformation because there is unabundant, resources are not abundant, so we need to use them well.
Thank you very much. Let's turn our attention to governance frameworks very briefly. Dr. Soglo, how do we ensure AI governance frameworks remain adaptive and future-proof in the African context amid technological evolution?
Yes, that's a very difficult one, but great question. Especially in an area where we are now, and we're talking about CSG towards 2030, and then you have one of the user scenario that is talking about AI and communication, right? And so those would be discussions that will come up in the coming few years. I think that first, it is important to have flexibility, continuous capacity building and feedback, but also, engagement in international fora, for example. So first, it is important to focus with regard to AI on key aspects such as transparency, human-centric, etc., rather than rigid regulation. The second area is to have modular policy formulation, which means that there could be some part of the regulation that could be modified, but that would not affect the overall policy. The third aspect, which is very important, it is capacity building, right, to understand the development. This is both for policymakers, researchers, G-STIC experts, etc., to understand the trends, to see if there are any adjustments that need to be made. Fourth, as I said, it's important to participate in international discussions, right? Whether it's as OECD or UN initiatives, etc., for harmonization, but also for standards, because you don't want to have regulations that are fragmented. I mean, if you take the context of Africa, where the challenge is still there, right? We're looking at fostering a single digital market, but the regulations, well, yes, effort is ongoing there, but still not harmonized. So those are some of the key aspects there, and I think it's also important to engage various stakeholders for feedback, right? Government engage with researchers, the public, the private sector, industry, etc. So collectively, they can actually have a view on how things are evolving. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Gadela, how are the Brazilian guidelines on AI being applied to the health field?
Okay. We, of course, AI is all applicated in all fields. So the health field has a lot of connection with different themes. So, and in the health, we do this related to the connection of health and climate, health vigilance, and so forth. But anyhow, I would just pinpoint that in the health ministry, the digital transition is already advancing under the digital health strategy that was set up from 2020 to 2028. And there was a department created specifically for digital health. And this took place while the former president of Fiocruz was minister. Until January, she was the health ministry. So we brought this as a very important a new area of the health ministry. And it integrates AI, telemedicine, big data, and interoperability to strengthen the unified health system of Brazil. These initiatives make it possible to use AI for diagnostics, epidemiological modeling, and precision public health. Improving access and efficiency, especially in remote territories such as the Amazon and so forth. And yet is emphasized by Professor Nalmade Almeida Filho, who participated in the construction of this strategy on the health area. Digital health must be beyond the technological layer. It must be rooted in epistemological pluralism, territorial diversity, and humanistic values. Again, in the same line as the Brazilian guidelines. Now, Mar's notion of intelligent health territories is a powerful reminder that technology should serve community-based care, not replace it. We at Fiocruz have a very strong project, what we call the Sustainable and Healthy Territories, with many experience in different areas and biomes and regions of Brazil, and we are applying this connection between the frontier technology with social and territory-based and community agency, because we think this is crucial in what the UNEP says, something about the category of hybrid technology. At the same time, Brazil has developed new paradigms for sustainable and intelligent health structure. The Intelligent Hospital of the University of São Paulo, led by Dr. Ludmila Aja, is a pioneering model that combines high complexity care with environmental sustainability and digital innovation. This will be the first intelligent hospital in Brazil. The idea is to be inaugurated in the next 2 years. It integrates AI, big data, IoT, and 5G to improve emergency response, energy efficiency, and clinical outcomes. This initiative represents the convergence of technological excellence and ecological responsibility, showing that digital transformation can also mean more humane, sustainable, and equitable care. No? I would say also that we are using AI for research and development in many areas, no? Pharmaceutical development, vaccine, and so forth, and also in the discussion of preparedness for new pandemics, which is one of the priorities of WHO and the health ministry. Taking together these experiences, the PBIA that I mentioned before, the digital health strategy, the regulatory frameworks, and pioneering hospital models, form an ecosystem where artificial intelligence becomes a tool for planetary health and social inclusion. They affirm Brazil's distinctive perspective that technology must be built with and for the people, reflect the plurality of our society, and the interdependence between human and well-being and environmental integrity. I keep coming to the same thing because it's very important. And one last thing that I would like to remind is that together with what we are proposing in Brazil and the Belém project for health in the COP30, we are bringing also questions related to how we use AI in terms of adaptation of health systems to climate change and extreme events. So when Brazil discusses AI, diversity truly has a seat at the table. And I would add, so does the planet. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And let us briefly reflect on the role of stakeholders. Ms. Roberts, what role can AI play in the engagement of stakeholders to facilitate the adoption of sustainable innovation?
Yes, in the sustainability challenges, we strongly believe in a system approach, and we need to involve all stakeholders around these challenges, and it can be technology providers, it can be citizens that adopt the solutions, it can be policymakers that need to develop the regulatory frameworks around it, and other stakeholders. So we strongly believe in the system approach, and the word transparency has been pronounced already today in the discussion. And transparency and data-driven decision-making is something where we strongly believe in. And this can be done based on shared data and shared insights. And so if we bring together stakeholders on good data on the sustainability challenge itself and the solution and how it contributes to solving this challenge, then we believe that we can move further in the adoption of these technologies. And also maybe a practical example to illustrate, we have a big project around Lake Tanganyika in Central Africa, and it involves, so it has several neighboring countries around the lake, and it's about water quality, but the lake also has a lot of applications related to transport of between by boats, of also drinking water production for food and agriculture, of course. And so there's many applications and also many stakeholders that put their wastewater into the water. And so to solve this challenge, it's very difficult because it's people and industries and farmers from different countries that should contribute to the quality of the lake. And that's how we deployed a digital platform where you can really monitor how is water quality evolving and how is everybody part of the problem but also part of the solution. And based on these type of applications, you bring stakeholders around a big screen. It can be really a physical monitor that says, okay, this is what is happening right now with the water quality in the lake. And so you can also engage these stakeholders to take their responsibility and really work together around this very, very complex problems. And so that's where we think also AI can really bring knowledge, data, to make data-driven decisions by several stakeholders and that join them together to work on the solution. So that's one of the applications.
Thank you for that. Dr. Balmahun, what are some practical considerations for AI deployment in light of ethical challenges?
Wearing a research and development cap, I think I would respond to that by looking at the design of the technology. I think if we get as close as possible to designing ethical considerations into the technology itself, that's where we are going to have a win. When it comes to design and implementation, so for example, large language models, when they were released and there was this huge uptake of them, there were engineers that identified that bias was a challenge in this. And that's where we came out with and started looking at a technique called reinforcement learning using human feedback. It was identifying this as an issue that resulted in us being able to formulate some sort of solution around that. When we look at research and development environments, we design our tools using sandboxes. We have containment mechanisms around these so that it is robust when we release it to the public. And that's important as well when we consider how we bring in these ethical nuances. We have within our research group already designed a trustworthy AI research agenda, which actually looks at these design components and culminates in an AI governance ops platform. So we can actually institute and develop this for organizations. Another important aspect, as was alluded to earlier, around standards. The IEEE is actually an organization that's not new to anyone involved in the technology space, the International Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers. They've already released almost 2,000 regulations or standards, guidelines, when it comes to those applicable in the AI space. I've already seen some around autonomous robot development and around machine learning evaluation. So it becomes important for us to actually be involved in these conversations and to understand what the guidelines are around these and then be using these so that we can channel this in an ethical manner. And the last point around this is experimentation when it comes to the technology itself. It's about us not being afraid to use the technology. There's a book called Super Agency, written by Reid Hoffman. And in that book, there's an entire chapter called that's titled "Innovation is Safety," and that book culminates with that chapter culminates with the point that we don't necessarily need to rely on regulators when it comes to developing guidelines and contingency methods around the technology if we're experimenting with it enough. So if we're able to use the technology within our organizations, give it to our staff to actually use, then we can understand what sort of nuances around that technology we're comfortable with and not comfortable with. So it can actually help us develop our own guidelines around containment of the technology itself. So I think it's important that when we consider ethical challenges, the most important thing is that these considerations are actually built into the design and it's not an afterthought. And the second part being that we continue to experiment with the technology.
Thank you very much. And then for the closing question from the panel, Ms. Govender, the AI Maturity Assessment Framework indicates that South Africa's AI maturity is in its early stages, with 7 out of 8 domains assessed at levels 1 and 2. What do you identify as the most promising opportunities for AI to drive sustainable development in South Africa, given these foundational levels?
It's very subjective, because I'm answering this. I think that's a difficult one. If I were to look at it, and because of the team that worked on it was so diverse and multidisciplinary, I think people might have a different view. I would say, so something my colleagues often say when they come and visit South Africa, and I'm sure people in the audience have heard this before, South Africa is not real Africa. It's been said before many times, and for the simple reason that we are so diverse, and that diversity has multifaceted layers from the languages that we speak, the geoculture, the Durban versus Joburg versus Cape Town, the industry that we have such an advanced industry sector, amazing research and development entities, public universities that are really top-notch, and we are basically a treasure trove of data. If this data was openly and freely available, I can assure you that with respect to big tech, whom I work with, they would literally be licking their lips and just falling over to get their hands on it. And I say that, why do I say it like that? Because a big portion of this is not digitized. And that's a big problem for us to move forward as a country. We are doing amazing things, and Ravana would tell you herself that even the work that they do, as incredible as it is, costs money, because sometimes you've got to go and find or create or develop the data, refine the data, and that takes time and money. It's very unsexy. It sounds great when someone's presenting an app here, but the back-end development to go through that process, extremely tiresome, very, very unsexy. So now you have this incredible country with all of these layers and facets and all of the things that we can do with it, but either the data is not digitized, as I said. If it is digitized, it's maybe not discoverable, so it's not, people don't know that it's there, that it can be used. And then if it's there and it can be used, it may not be interoperable, meaning I put it out there in the world, if it's open source, and it's in a format that other people cannot use. So that becomes a problem. And so for us, or at least my point of view on where we think we can advance. Firstly, the digitization of languages, so being able to actually develop products, solutions. Bienvenue, my colleague, fellow panelists touched on it many times in the context of localization. And we hear the Brazilian example of localization. But digitizing languages is not just about producing something in a different language. That language comes with culture, and that comes with identity, that comes with nuance. And so when you do something that way, you're actually adding to the value of the country and the data and how you're able to use that for citizen services. And I give you a very practical example. Think how easy it is if a granny or a person, a young person, were able to go and express themselves in a hospital, at Netcare, at wherever, in their local language. I've got this problem and this is how it feels. But oftentimes, and I've had to experience Netcare hospitals, and in 9 out of 10 instances, everything is in English. The forms are in English, the interfacing, whatever you do, it's all in English. And it's not right, it's not fair. So that's the one thing. And I mean, again, when we're talking about languages and culture, also teaching in local languages is not, a Python script or a script that you run and code is not gonna give a different output if you think about it in Zulu or think about it in English. As long as you code correctly, you should be okay. The other issue I've noticed, and that could really advance us as a country, is, and for citizen services, but services in general, even for industry, disaggregated data. So a lot of the time, data is just aggregated or even disaggregated but not granular enough. And what do I mean by this? It means that in this room, we could say, cool, there's men and there's women, but how are we doing in a country that's so open and diverse, embracing LGBTQ and all of the identities? Oftentimes you'll ask, are you male or female? Or where's the gender disaggregation, or where's the age disaggregation? Where's the geolocation disaggregation to understand, in this room, did people travel from elsewhere to come here? And if so, what is that? And you're asking, what does all of this have to do with AI? And what does all this have to do with frameworks? You can't make good policy if you don't have evidence-based to inform what is going on. You can't make good products and solutions if you don't know what you're really, really, really solving for, or you have a foundational language model, but then you can nuance it for the purpose that it needs to be nuanced for. Lastly, and I would say, this morning I attended the Mzansi Exchange pilot, and it's led by the National Treasury, super cool, and basically an effective way to transfer data across a secure data exchange platform between different government services. Yes, you heard that. Different government departments are going to securely exchange data. I think it is super cool. I think that if we're able to collaborate with that and inform that, that's really going to move South Africa forward.
Thank you very much. And due to the time that has elapsed, we're not in a position to open the floor. But at this point, I would like to thank the distinguished panelists for the insightful contributions.
A round of applause once again for that remarkable panel discussion. Thank you very much. A massive thank you goes out to our distinguished panelists for their nuanced and very honest conversation. I don't think yesterday we heard words like cool, sexy. It was interesting and refreshing. But thank you very, very much. And of course, to the moderator for facilitating that conversation in a way that kept the discussions grounded and very much accessible. As we heard, AI has transformative abilities and is very much a powerful tool as a force for good. And when we started the session, I heard something mentioned by Ms. Huvart. She said, the end goal is sustainability, not AI. And therefore, the question isn't whether AI will shape our sustainability journey, it's whether we will guide that journey, shaping it with human-centered design and continued application of system thinking across its implementation to ensure the positive change that we hope to see. Nicely done, and thank you very much for that robust conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, this marks the official conclusion of the CSIR and G-STIC Conference. I think that deserves a round of applause. It has been indeed a remarkable conference. And so on that note, to officially close, we are going to hear from the General Manager at G-STIC from Vito, Dr. Dietrich van Vier. Oh, my goodness, let me try that again. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'm calling on the German in me because it is a German name. Dr. Dietrich van der Wiegen. He will be closing the remarks. He will be giving us closing remarks on behalf of Vito. So a round of applause, please, as he makes his way up.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's always tricky to be among the final speakers before the reception, so don't worry, I will spare you a long speech. Nevertheless, it's a great honor to deliver the closing remarks on behalf of Vito and G-STIC. As the conference comes to an end, I would like to briefly reflect on what we have achieved together this week and how we can carry the outcomes forward to increase our collective impact. So over the past few days, we have celebrated important milestones and partnerships. The conference coincided with the 80th anniversary of the CSIR. 8 decades of scientific excellence and innovation that have transformed South Africa and inspired the world. It has been a true privilege for G-STIC and Vito to co-organize this remarkable conference in partnership with the CSIR, honoring its remarkable legacy. But it's also a milestone for G-STIC. It's the first conference on African soil after previous editions in Belgium, the UAE, Brazil, and India. Bringing the conference to Pretoria underscores our deep admiration for the CSIR's leadership and our firm belief that Africa must be at the center of the global conversation on sustainability and innovation. Africa is not just a continent facing the realities of climate change and rapid transformation. It's also a continent of solutions, home to young innovators, leading researchers and communities pioneering new ways of living sustainably. The world has much to learn from Africa's creativity, resilience, and drive. And over the past 2 days, we have explored how transformative technologies and innovation can accelerate the just transition here in Africa and around the world. We have seen practical solutions across many fields, showing that technology itself is not the barrier. To progress, the real challenges lie in governance, collaboration, legislation, and the alignment of incentives. We need to bring innovation, policy, and finance together toward common goals. And that's precisely where G-STIC positions itself as a platform for systemic change, connecting the technological frontier with the enabling policies and financing mechanisms that can bring solutions to scale. Now, as you might know, G-STIC is not a single institution, but a collective endeavor co-hosted by 10 leading non-profit research organizations from across the globe. Can you put up the slides, please? Yes, thank you. Vito in Belgium, of course, the CSIR in South Africa, GIEC and G3 in China, Fiocruz in Brazil, Mazen in Morocco, Nasitem in Nigeria, STEPI in South Korea, TERI in India, and TII in the UAE. Together, these partners bring scientific excellence, regional insight, and policy experience to the G-STIC platform. And this unique collaboration ensures that G-STIC remains an inclusive and truly global initiative, connecting innovation, policy, and practice across continents to turn sustainable solutions into real-world impact. Now, looking back on the conference, I can say that it has highlighted both the unique challenges and the extraordinary opportunities facing South Africa and the wider region. And by focusing on local and regional innovations, it has enriched the global sustainability conversation while keeping solutions firmly grounded in local contexts. We have seen inspiring examples of African leadership, innovations designed for local realities but with global relevance. Our gathering here has been more than just a conference. It has been a demonstration of collaboration, shared vision, and the power of partnership. Throughout the sessions, we also heard clear messages from policymakers and financiers. The time for pilots and pledges is over. What we need now are bankable, implementable solutions that deliver tangible impact for communities. And we have explored many such solutions here in Pretoria, and our collective task now is to ensure that these ideas do not remain isolated success stories, but become widespread practices that benefit the whole society. Now, allow me to take a moment to highlight the collaboration with the CSIR, which has been central to making this conference a success. As the CSIR celebrates its 80th anniversary, we are reminded of its remarkable legacy of advancing science and technology in service of society, not only in South Africa, but across the globe. And the partnership between G-STIC and the CSIR embodies the power of shared vision and mutual trust, where world-class research meets global collaboration, and innovation becomes a driver of inclusive, sustainable growth. I think together we are proving that Africa's scientific excellence can lead global transitions and inspire new models of development. Looking ahead, our task is both clear and urgent. We must build on the momentum of this conference and turn ambition into action. And in my opinion, that means ensuring that the solutions identified here become part of national and regional strategies, embedding science, technology, and innovation at the heart of climate action and development planning, and connecting innovators and funders through mechanisms that drive a just and inclusive transition. If we do this, we can move beyond pilots and promises to implementation at scale, to real impact where it matters most. Finally, I'm delighted to announce that the next G-STIC conference will take in Brussels on the 8th and the 9th of June. And this upcoming edition will carry forward the spirit and results of Pretoria, and it will provide a platform to present tangible progress, forge new partnerships, and showcase scalable solutions that move us from ambition to action. The conference will build directly on the outcomes of Pretoria, deepening the dialogue between innovation, policy, and finance, and strengthening our global network of partners committed to implementation. I warmly invite all of you to join us there to continue the work we have started here, to build on the momentum and to showcase the concrete progress we will achieve in the months ahead. So as we conclude this remarkable edition of the G-STIC Conference, let me express my sincere gratitude to everyone who made it possible. First of all, of course, our heartfelt thanks to our host here in South Africa, the CSIR, for organizing this event and welcome us so warmly as they celebrate 8 years of innovation. But of course also the entire G-STIC community, our co-hosts, strategic partner, and every speaker, expert, and participant who contributed to the richness of the discussions. Your engagement over the past days has reaffirmed what G-STIC stands for, a global community and in advancing science, united in advancing science, technology, and innovation as the backbone of sustainable development. So let us leave Pretoria not only inspired, but mobilized. Let us turn the insights of this week into real-world projects, partnerships, and investment that accelerate the transition to a fair, resilient, and sustainable society. The journey ahead is complex, but as we have seen here, it's also full of opportunity. Thank you all for your presence, your engagement, and continued commitment. I look forward to seeing you all again in Brussels to continue this mission. Thank you once again.
All right, Brussels, here I come. 8, 9 June, diarized, sir. Diarized. Thank you very much for your thoughtful reflections. And thank you as well for your continued leadership in shaping integrated solutions for a better future. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the CSIR CEO, Dr. Thulani Dlamini, to deliver his closing remarks. A round of applause, please, as he takes to the stage.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As we draw this remarkable conference to a close, I also want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible energy, insights, and collaboration that we have witnessed over the past 2 days. Indeed, it has been a privilege to host such a dynamic gathering of minds united by a shared commitment to innovation, excellence, and progress. We have explored ideas that challenge convention, celebrated achievements that inspire, and forged connections that will undoubtedly shape the future of our industries and communities. I am deeply encouraged by the passion and purpose that each of you brought to this conference. Over the past 2 days, we have covered a range of important topics, including safety and security, the circular economy, climate, health, energy, and water. Through the various plenary sessions and deep dive sessions, tech talks, exhibitions, we explored how science, technology, and innovation can help build a more sustainable future for all. In our energy sessions, we examined Africa's sustainability challenges and opportunities. We also discussed how the continent can localize modern energy technologies to better meet our needs. Another session focused on innovations in geothermal energy and how they are being integrated into the global renewable energy landscape, offering cleaner and more resilient solutions. In the health sessions, we explored how to build climate-resilient health systems based on equity and innovation. We reflected on the 2030 Agenda and the importance of strengthening global cooperation for sustainable development. We also highlighted the role of biological and air quality monitoring in improving environmental health across Africa. Our climate discussions covered topics such as green hydrogen and infrastructure readiness across regions and supply chains, We also shared experiences and best practices in decentralized water energy systems. In the food and agriculture sessions, we looked at how technology is transforming agricultural insurance and disaster risk management, helping communities prepare for climate-related challenges. We discussed ways to improve agricultural productivity and build resilient food systems that can adapt to future risks. In the area of safety and security, we emphasized the importance of using homegrown and localized technologies to strengthen national security. Our circular economy discussions explored how renewable energy solutions can be made more circular. We also considered how to rethink resource use in urban environments and to create cities that are more livable, resilient, and sustainable. The Tech Talk sessions in the exhibition hall explored how our researchers are developing and localizing African health technologies, drawing on indigenous African knowledge and innovations that better serve patients of African descent. How science is strengthening key sectors such as mining, the ocean economy, and manufacturing, which are central to climate action, sustainable cities, and jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, engagements like this conference always remind us of this fundamental truth. Nothing great ever happens in silos. The conversations that we had over the past 2 days are just the beginning. As we live here today, let us carry forward the momentum that we have built. Let us continue the conversations, nurture the partnerships and relationships, and act on the ideas that emerged during this conference. Before I close, I would like to also extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone who made this conference possible. To the Ministry and Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, we thank you for your continued support. To our partners, Vito and G-STIC, we hope that your first conference in Africa marks the beginning of many other conferences that you will be holding on the African continent. Thank you for your collaboration. To all our speakers, panelists, session moderators, and exhibitors, we appreciate your insights, expertise, and passion during the past 2 days. And to all our delegates, online and in person, thank you for your presence, engagement, and your contributions to the conversations that I'm sure will extend beyond this conference. A conference of this scale requires extensive planning. I am therefore very grateful to the CSIR and Vito organizing teams, to the CSIR Strategic Communications team for all their efforts. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. To our program director, who executed her mandate with distinction, proving once more that dynamite does come in small packages. Please give her a round of applause as well. Finally, I would like to thank the management and staff of the CSIR International Convention Center for exceeding our expectations once more. I'm sure that you'll agree with me that the preparation of the meeting venues, the exhibition hall, the catering was flawless. Please also join me in giving them a round of applause. Although the formal program ends today, we'll be having tours of the CSR facilities tomorrow, and I would like to extend an invitation to all of you to please join us on the facilities tour of the CSIR. I wish you a pleasant day further and invite you to join us for the networking session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Dlamini, for closing this conference with such clarity and conviction. I'm also reminded that there was a quote by Peter Drucker, and he said, "The best way to predict the future is to quite literally create it." So here's to creating a future that is bright, that is sustainable, and that is very impactful collaboratively. Thank you very much. You have been a very fine audience. Have a wonderful afternoon, and do enjoy the networking session. Thank you.